What is happening, everybody? Welcome back to another video about the S15. Last video was pretty much getting the majority of the car stripped, the rest, the bottom of the car and all that. Now we're gonna get into some of the exciting stuff. Well, to me anyways. We're gonna be fixing the dent in the door. Also getting into cutting the car. And not the way that you would, well, I don't know, you would expect it, but quarter panels are staying stock, just rolled. I'm talking about cutting out some rust. Let me see, we have that spot there. And also got this little tiny spot here, which is covered by the skirts, but I still want to patch it, make it right, make it good. And then also, hopefully if I get the welder, I gotta go pick up the welder from my dad's, bring it here, get some gas. Then hopefully I can start welding. I'm also gonna shave this and this for the antenna. So that's gonna be that, and I don't know, maybe a little bit more, maybe a little bit less. I guess we'll see what happens once I get into it. So I think I'm gonna start with that dent on the door. Yeah, that's pretty much the easiest. Yeah, so let's get into that and go from there. So what I'm gonna be doing here, you can see this dent is pretty good right here. So I got the little stud puller, and I'll put some studs on there, basically around like that. Hopefully pop it out. Should be all right. It's not too bad. But I can see it's actually dented down here too, so I'm gonna have to do some hammer and dollying. Normally, I mean, you could just pop it out from the inside, but I have the door panel off and there's no access to it. Yeah, so basically, just gonna go kind of feel where there's a bit of a crease. I don't know what happened here. It was like that when I bought it, but assuming something came up and hit this, kind of like that, because this is pushed in here on the seam, and then this is pretty heavily creased here. So I'm just gonna throw some studs in it here. Right there, I guess. That. Just gonna use a couple of them. You don't really want to just put one on there and then start ripping it, because you're gonna end up stretching the metal. So and put one basically on the damaged area, and then a couple just like around it basically, so you can kind of bring it out easily. So I'll try and give it a tug on it, but I don't know. It could just pop, but it also might not. Oh, that came out pretty good actually. See, now it's also creased up here. You can't really see it on video or in pictures or anything, but you can feel it. And what that is, there's a rebar inside the door. So when this got pushed in, you basically want to pull all the metal with it, and then this rebar basically acted like a brake. So it kind of like creased it exactly where that rebar is. So basically what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna pull this, since it's wanting to cut to, slip off there. Since it kind of wants to come. So I'll pull on that, and then I'll give this a tap pretty much up here where it's got. Now you see that kind of held it out there now, which is good, because now we're kind of relieving this up here, and there's still a little bit here and up there. There's still we're gonna have to do some body work with some filler and stuff, but it's not a huge deal. Everybody thinks it's like the devil. Bondo is the devil, but it's really not. You just gotta know what you're doing and what you can do and what you can't do, what you shouldn't do with it. You can see there when I put that one on there, it kind of sucked that back in. It's just on the verge. Where see that one's, it's coming out pretty good now. I'll do the same thing. I'll hit it up here. My main concern is basically keeping the damage away from the lines here, just because it's easier if you don't have to remake lines. And I think we're gonna be pretty okay. Up here it's a little messed up, but that's okay. tell just from not too shabby. So basically now I'm just gonna cut these off, grind the heads off, smooth that back out, and then I'm gonna hammer a dolly. I'll hold the dolly on the inside because I can get my arm in there, but I couldn't get in enough to actually swing a hammer or anything on it to pop that out. But now it's pretty good, pretty close to where it's got to be, so I can hammer and dolly the rest. That way it doesn't leave a hole. Kind of work it a little bit. That one's in there pretty good. Let's cut that one. That just broke my pliers. My guy. These are brand new pliers. I'll just go back over the DA and smooth that back out. Then I'll get the door open. And then you can see it now. Okay, you can see right there. The bottom of the door is dented in, but the rest of it looks pretty good. So you can kind of see it's looking pretty good. And one way I like to check is the straight edge type thing, right? You lay it on there and you can see your highs and your lows. Also, this is dented, I just noticed. So you can see now it's nice and flat right here. Pretty much all the way along. I mean, that's probably the worst spot right there, but it's really not terrible. So I'm pretty happy with that in metal. So just imagine now that little sliver is going to be filled with body filler just to straighten it all out. So it's really not that bad. A lot of people think you're just in here filling this whole dent with Bondo, and then yeah, that's an issue. But when you're just doing a little skim coat like that, a little light coat, it's really not a big deal. That's pretty much the only like damage on the car. So that's basically all I'm going to be doing dent wise. Now probably going to get into some rust work. I showed, I think on the on the quarter panel here where we have an issue, but I didn't show down here where there's a bit more of an issue. And then up there, but I'll show that later. It looks much worse than it is. Obviously it's a hole, like it's bad, it needs to be replaced, but it's just from the inside, right? So this panel right here, well, you can't really see, I should get a light in. Now you can see this panel obviously looks pretty bad, but super weird because it's not like the edge here is pretty mint, and then all the way back here it's like beautiful. So I think this is part of the whole roof leaking issue that I was talking about earlier in the other video. Yeah, so basically you're just gonna replace the piece back here because that's actually the piece that has the hole in it. Yeah, you can see right here it's on the back side. So now just re-seam seal it like the factory would have had it. So it's really not a huge deal. The one I'm kind of nervous about, well, not really nervous, but the one that's gonna matter is this one. We'll get it cleaned up and see how far we have to go with it. You can see underneath looks clean and around this lip looks clean. So once I get that ground down, and then I'll have to cut it out and see how far the rust continues on the back side of the panel. And that'll basically tell us how big the piece we're gonna have to make will be. This is something that I noticed, well, not the license plate, I put that there. But when I was making the top work, because when I bought this car, the top wasn't functional at all. As you can see, I wired it all in like myself, but whatever. I noticed, and that's the only reason I really noticed, because I had this interior all out. There's a pretty good sized hole here. And I'll show you. Right there. And you can see that's 2 layers of metal. You can see the line here. and then it curves, and then it's supposed to go straight across and then continue on back there. So basically what this is going to be is like two small patches. I'll do the bottom one out here and then overlap the inside one on the inside, just like the factory would have done it. But just for the time being, when like last year when I was, not last year actually, a year before, when I was driving this, I just self-tapped the license plate on there just so nothing would get inside the trunk area. Just kind of seal up. But obviously I'm going to take care of that as well. But yeah, those are basically the only two spots that I've found. And I've looked pretty well all over the car, so that should be it. Okay, so basically I've marked out where I'm going to cut, which is like much larger than the original spot. But what I did was I went on the inside of the quarter panel and I just took a flathead and basically dented around where the rust is on the inside of the quarter panel, so that way I have like a reference point out here. So there's like a dent here and then like a dent here, and I'll just go a little bit more, that way I'm out of the rust completely. Then I'll be able to cut this piece right out. Just gonna go to the edge here and down here. I'll cut this out and I should be able to just trace this piece on a piece of metal and then put this little bend back in there for the body line, and should be able to butt weld a nice piece back in there, hopefully. And this is what I was talking about. See how small that spot is? Okay, watch it. That whole area is about to like break through pretty much with rust. So you can see like on this edge here, it's actually this edge. And you can see we didn't really get to the end of the rust, because you want to see like the original E-coat on the other side of the panel pretty much, all the way around the rust. Yeah, so I'm gonna cut this out a little bit more, a little bit further up here, and then start making a little piece for it. Now, you can see we got this piece cleaned up, no problem. And I also trimmed this out a bit more. You kind of see how much more I went. Not a whole bunch, but it was just enough. And now we're good to make a panel. So what I'm gonna do is I'll use this and then just exaggerate this side a little bit. Something like that. Now this is gonna be the tricky part. This top one. Not terrible. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mark where this body line should be. So like right there and there on this piece, then I'll make it and then I'll kind of crimp it around, because right now it's like sticking way out, right? 'Cause it's flat here. So I gotta get that to go around. So I'll mark out where that's supposed to be, crimp that around a little bit, and then we should be able to see where we are here. Like that, and out there. Pretty much just like that. So that's going to be that little character line or body line there for around the wheel, around the wheel well. And I'd probably just take some pliers and just kind of get the bend started. Pretty much have the shape we want, just like that. So you got that line, you got this line. Now the fun part is going to be shaving this edge back until we get exactly the same shape as the inside. So now what I've done basically is put it where I want it to sit, like inside here, and then basically traced around the outside, and then that little bit, well, up here it's a bit more. I'm just gonna go around and grind that back now, and then this should fit in there pretty close to perfectly. Like 10 minutes later, a little bit of grinding and shaving around the edges. See, it's fitting quite good. Yeah, still gotta shoot some. I don't even know what I have. I might not even have anything. Let's go get some primer. Shoot some primer in there, and then the back side of here. But then we could start getting that sucker in there. You can see this line carried through pretty well. I think I found there's one little pinhole right there. And then so I'm just gonna tack up those that I find and grind them down, and then it should be all set. I didn't really mention it, but I did shave the antenna as well as the third brake light. Trying to see that sucked in on me a little bit. I'm not super happy with that, but it's good enough. Yeah, I didn't really include that or this patch down here. But yeah, you can see I had to cut this big piece out, and then I had to keep going and like keep cutting out. So basically all the metal work on the outside of the car is done, but I'm gonna leave this in like the wheel well hole until a later date, because I can at least get the whole car and primer and start doing body work and stuff that way, whereas I can do this stuff at any time. It doesn't affect the rest of the car being primed or anything, so I'd rather get the car in primer and get it sealed up and then see what we're working with, and then just go back and do that whenever I have time. So yeah, it's pretty much all I've gotten done this week on the car. I haven't been feeling the greatest, so I haven't been out here that much, but as always, I appreciate you watching. So hopefully you're enjoying this. We're gonna get into hopefully priming it pretty soon, which is gonna be cool, and that's gonna be like a big step, and then we can start taping it all up, spray it, and all that cool stuff. So if you want to like, comment, subscribe, and see you in the next one.